took away from the whole game of the week aspect, for me personally anyway.
Sure.
Obviously, 143 points, VIP on Swole, most points of the week. Put up big numbers. Handy Clacks, 94. Unfortunately, playing a tough team. At 0-2, the Handy Clacks, put up some points, just not getting those wins. So we'll see where he goes from here.
Yeah. I hear you. It was good, certainly a good showing, another good showing by Coach Heaney. But we had quite a bit of upsets. It's hard to say what are upsets at this stage of the season. We're still kind of all feeling each other out. But I mean, the Hong Kong Cavs beat Soglo. You would think
pretty handedly too.
Yeah, and good for Hong Kong getting that first win of 5.
Only 4 more to go.
4 more to go for him. The Amber Alerts. I mean, they beat Yellow Peril, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But I don't think anyone saw that coming. I mean, I guess the good news for Coach John is he's not going to win a game this year, right?
I'll tell you what, Coach. I think that's going to come back to bite Coach Jay Young
in the ass.
I think that loss right there is going to be the difference between a playoff berth and not.
Very, very. Very
astute.
well could be.
Very astute, I think, of me. I think that's what I'm going to say.
You are an astute fella, bub.
Yep.
We saw another, you would think would be an upset. Brutal Deluxe beat, Pig Newtons in a pretty close game. Went down to the Monday Nighter. Peyton and Decker and Matty Ryan all going at it, and Brutal ended up on top, 84-80. A little low-scoring game, but still a relatively good game. And Bub found it very interesting. Coach McDowell has been on a ridiculous run. He, dating back to last year, he actually has won 12 of his last 13 games. The only game that he lost was Dynasty Bowl 8.
Dynasty Bowl, and I think that's a little, misleading for lack of a better word. Last year, great team, great run. It's a shame he lost, but this year, he's 2-0. You know what? He squeaked by this week, 84 points in the win. Personally, I don't think his team's as good as his record indicates, Eric.
I hear you, Coach Bub, and we got a little bit of feedback recently saying that we aren't as not cruel, but as blatantly negative or about certain teams and whatnot. And by all means, everyone keep the feedback coming, both positive and negative. It drives our asses. So I'm going to say this: I'm calling Coach Brandon McDowell's Brutal Deluxe a goddamn pretender. It's bullshit.
Wow.
Oh yeah. They're 2-0 right now,
Straight up.
and good for them. And we actually said that he had a good draft, but I don't see him lasting. Pretty soon, I think he's going to start losing. I don't think he has. To me, he's in the middle of the pack. I don't think that he's got the greatest team.
I don't think he has the sustainability.
Good word, Coach.
Thanks.
Bub.
You know what?
It
came to my head.
So there you have it. And I mean, then the odds maker poll this week. It was Brutal versus Calvin Johnson. Brutal's points versus Calvin Johnson's catches plus yards. Megatron was given a 5.5 point favorite, and looks like Calvin Johnson won that. He had 8 catches, 94 yards, which total 102, where Brutal ended up with 84. So
plus the 5.5 point spread.
Right.
So he smoked it.
I thought who was the favorite?
Calvin was getting 5.5 points. So he was plus 5.5 to start.
So Brandon was the favorite.
Correct.
I'm always a little confused about that, Bob.
Well, you're minus, so now you're not. Now you think he's the underdog because he's less, but in reality, he's a favorite because he's minus. He's starting off with minus points, so he's actually the favorite, but not in this one. I think it should have been Calvin as the favorite.
Well, Calvin won, but Brutal won at the end with the big victory. And in NFL news, Bob, I found it very interesting. The Saints, the New Orleans Saints, are the only winless team
in the NFC.
In the NFC, which is kind of crazy. And replacement refs. Last week we talked about it. We both kind of agreed that it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know about you, Bub, but my opinion has changed.
I am 100% with you, Eric. I think they did almost like a complete 180 and made a lot of strange calls. I don't want to say just blatantly bad calls, but just some odd calls that probably wouldn't have been made by the regular refs, or calls that they did make that wouldn't have made. Yeah, I just said that. But, definitely worse than week 1.
I agree. I mean, it's starting to get a lot of hand. I mean, I am a bit flip-floppy here, obviously. Maybe we both are on this particular topic, but man, I mean, the Monday night game, the friggin' first half lasted 2 hours. And I think, Peter King kind of summed it up nicely, I think. When and by the way, Bub, I mentioned earlier I'm a card-carrying media.
Yes.
Me and Peter King now are pretty good friends.
But like, kind of, you tight, like best buds?
No, not that close. Oh. But I mean, we
just a little.
We fly in the same circles, if you will.
Oh.
Anyway, Peter King says,
I don't know what that means.
Quote, watching football on Sunday, I felt like a passenger in a car going 20 miles an hour too fast on a mountain road with hairpin turns. We weren't going to die, but it was going to be a pretty dicey ride. End
wow.
So I think he pretty much nailed it.
That's pretty
pretty astute stuff.
Yeah, pretty astute stuff.
Word of the day.
Wow.
Another kind of situation that occurred relatively recently was our ethics manager, Coach Will DeYoung, his running back, Michael Turner. Burner is the key word considering what occurred.
Maybe we should call him Michael Drinker Turner, huh? Right?
Gotcha. He was arrested for a DUI and speeding, burning, if you will. I
see what you did there.
Yeah. So, Bob, you're aware of this, but last year I proposed a player conduct rule where we could maybe have, certain points deducted or things like that if you have a player who gets arrested and things like that. It ended up getting turned down by the board members, and honestly, I'm kind of glad that happened because it would have been quite a bit of record keeping, and more record keeping than I already do. So I'm kind of glad it didn't happen, but this would have been a perfect example of how Will would have been penalized if we implemented this.
Yeah, I was a big advocate against that rule. I like where your head was at. I just feel like you can't penalize someone for something that happens off the field in fantasy. Not in the NFL. We're picking guys for fantasy purposes only.
Yeah.
I think with the whole, suspension rule and all that stuff, that's just I think that's a little too much. Dynasty is already the best, the best league.
Sing it, brother.
Ever. Do you want me to sing? Save that for later.
Let's do that later.
Okay. So I was very against the rule. I'm glad that didn't happen, and it's unfortunate that Michael Turner got DUI'd, but, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and I'm glad that proposed rule also got turned down, but just something to think about.
Oh, yeah.
Now another
little nugget.
A nugget. Hey, last week we had Coach Will provide us as a sporadic type of voice message that he left me, and we may have a weekly segment here,
really?
Out of nowhere. It wasn't even planned because Coach Will has provided me with I'm so excited about this voice message, with another voice message regarding Michael Turner's arrest. So I will play it for you all right now.
What can I say about Michael Turner? It was a game. He got a touchdown, kind of a nice bounce-back game. He was a little more celebratory than he should have been. Other than that, no real big incident here. He's going to pay his fine. He's going to do his, he's going to, serve his court-mandated penalties. Really, there's no story here other than a little extra celebration after a big victory. That's all I can say. That's all I'm going to say. That's all you're going to get.
Well said.
Now, let's take a look into the future with next week's matchups.
We got ourselves some more divisional matchups here coming up in week 3. The North Riverdale division. We got ourselves. I'm going up against the Amber Alerts. Boston Lager still trying to get that first victory, going up against Handy Quack. So a couple of 0-2 teams. Someone's going to get a win there. Then VIP on Swole up against Yellow Peril. Bub, any thoughts? Game of the week, what do you got?
Looking at this, I think game of the week has to be VIP on Swole at Yellow Peril. The other two, not really too interested in those. But we have the rookie at 2-0 against the second-year man at 1-1. Bad week last week. The owners of the most points of the weeks.
Ah,
week one, week two.
Yeah, guess who had the second most points both weeks?
I'm going to go on